Hi, welcome to another edition of Real History, Preserving Our Past. I'm your host, Steve Hathcock. You wouldn't believe how full of history the Rio Grande Valley is. Well, we're here today at the eastern foot of the Queen Isabel Causeway, and we're of course on the South Padre Island side. And I want to tell you a little bit about this little piece of island history, this bridge that connected us to the mainland. It's named after Queen Isabella of Castile, and she's the woman who financed Christopher Columbus's explorations of the New World. It's one of the longest bridges in the world. It's the longest bridge in Texas. It spans 2 3/4 miles, if I remember correct. And it's got a unique curve to it. It's something that helps it with the weather so that it can withstand the force of the hurricanes that hit along this coast. And it's held up well. Hurricane Allen hit it in 1980, and then there's been several other hurricanes, with the most recent one being Hurricane Dolly. But it wasn't the storms that have really given the bridge problems.
And I got a phone call about, I don't know, 2:30, 3 o'clock, that just said that the bridge had collapsed, and it was like, it didn't make any sense really.
In 2001, September 15th, it was just a couple days after 9/11, Causeway was struck by a string of barges and it collapsed, and our island was cut off from the mainland. And it wasn't just an economic loss, it was a very personal tragedy to the community. People have wondered about that night, what was actually going on.
It's a Titanic moment, in the sense when whoever was at the helm is like, how do I get past this concrete iceberg?
That night, it was windy like this. There were 30, 40 mile an hour winds. There was an extremely high tide. Now the channel is fairly narrow there, and it's fairly well defined. But the winds pushed the barges off to the right, up into a shallow area that normally they would have ran aground on. The high tides helped to carry them along, and there was a new man at the wheel of the tugboat. So they were way off course. In addition, the lights on the causeway hadn't been working well for months in the past. And I had driven across the causeway earlier, and the lights weren't on then. So there wasn't much ahead to warn this guy that he was off course, except for whatever navigation lights that there are in the channel, green ones and red ones to show you where you are. I can't imagine the horror of that man when he realized how far he drifted off the course.
So I just, got in my car and I went to the bridge. And as you're pulling up, and the police are there, the mayor was there, Mayor Zaganowicz, and you couldn't tell from that side that anything had really happened, except of course they had everything blocked off. And you start sharing the information on, what happened, I can't believe this.
The explosions that people heard were the sounds of the concrete pillars snapping, falling into the water. Witnesses there that were fishing at the pier and off the walls there said they screamed and watched these cars come driving over the edge. None of them could see the disaster that waited ahead of them. 80 feet of causeway collapsed. I remember one girl was talking a couple of days later, one of the survivors, and she relayed how when she felt her car airborne, she instinctively rolled her electric windows down. She had just seen a show a couple of days before that, warning about the dangers of being stuck in the water with electric windows, how you couldn't open them once the car was turned off. She survived. God bless them all.